So firstly, we will understand the meaning of employers' association. An employers' organization, employers' association, or employers' federation is an association of employers. A trade union which organizes employees is the opposite of an employers' organization. The role and position of an employers' organization differs from country to country, dependent on the economic system of a country. In countries with a social market economy, such as Austria, Sweden, and the Netherlands, the employers' organizations are part of a system of institutionalized deliberation, together with government and the trade unions. In tripartite bargaining, the so-called social partners strike agreements on issues like price levels, wage increases, tax rates, and pension entitlements. After studying this lesson, you will be able to enumerate the objectives of employers' associations, discuss the origin and growth of employers' associations, examine the role of various associations, underline the role of state in industrial relations, analyze the tripartite and the bipartite consultative machinery. Now the turn comes to discuss Employers' Association in detail. Employers' Association, Inc. traces its roots to a time of serious labor turmoil in the Twin Cities. In the 1930s, there was more than 100 labor strikes. Thus, on December 17, 1936, a group of Minneapolis business and industrial leaders established an organization to help employers resolve labor management disputes peacefully and to harmonize employer-employee relations. The name of this new organization was Associated Industries of Minneapolis, later to become Employers Association of Greater Minneapolis. At about the same time, an employer group in St. Paul established the St. Paul Committee on Industrial Relations for the purpose of improving labor management relations. This organization changed its name to the St. Paul Employers Association, Inc. These Twin Cities associations merged on April 1, 1985 to form Employers Association, Inc. EA. Its various objectives include primary objective, secondary objective. Its primary objectives are helping employers achieve their full potential through progressive, effective, and efficient utilization of human resources and management practices, to develop and deliver services that help employers achieve their goals and sustain their organization's activities. The secondary objectives are train and develop staff and members, obtain data on wages and conditions of work in industries attached to them, come out with surveys, research-based reports on issues of importance to both labor and management, take up projects for social and family welfare, deal with safety and health at workplace and working environment. The Council of Indian Employers is the solitary national organization of employers in India and came into existence in 1956. CIE's primary mission is to interact with the government in the formulation of long-term labor, economic and social welfare policies concerning labor and the employers. It has contributed to creating a congenial industrial relations climate in the country and has aimed to achieve the prosperity and growth of industry through industrial harmony and peace. Currently, the CIE's strategy and goal is to foster mutual cooperation among workers' organizations and the employers in the country. Therefore, regular meetings with the Central Trade Union of Workers are held to understand each other's viewpoints. There is one more organization called International Organization of Employers. Since its creation in 1920, the International Organization of Employers, IOE, has been recognized as the only organization at the international level that represents the interests of business in the labor and social policy fields. Today, it consists of 147 national employer organizations from 140 countries from all over the world, according to June 2010 data. The mission of the IOE is to promote and defend the interests of employers in international form, particularly in the International Labour Organization (ILO), and to this end works to ensure that international labour and social policy promotes the viability of enterprises and creates an environment favourable to enterprise development and job creation. At the same time, it acts as the secretariat to the employers group at the ILO International Labour Conference, the ILO governing body, and all other ILO-related meetings. As in most countries, in India too, membership in EOs is voluntary. AIOE has two categories of members: individual, enterprise, and association, group of enterprises. EFI additionally has provision for honorary membership, whereby individuals with special skill or experience, such as legal luminaries or professionals, are co-opted to serve on various committees of the Federation. While the predominantly private sector EOs do not bar public sector enterprises from becoming members and rather welcome their entry and indeed have a few, the scope remains an EO exclusively for the public sector, that too mainly the public sector enterprises in the central sphere. In 1986, the AIOE and the EFI had 59 and 31 association members respectively. Even the strength of individual members, enterprises, was low at 130 and 247 respectively. Some members in both the categories are common for the AIOE and the EFI. In evaluation, it can be said that they should learn to be proactive than reactive. The distinction between the reactive and proactive approaches may be described as the difference between settling disputes and preventive care, between raising demands and removing grievances, seeking amendments to the law and influencing the law in advance, controlling wages and providing incentives, enforcing discipline and promoting good relations. Now we can understand scope of industrial relation. As the National Commission on Labour 1969 observed, the concern of the state in labour matters emanates as much from its obligations to safeguard the interest of workers and employers as to ensure to the community the availability of their joint product or service at a reasonable price. The extent of its involvement in the process is determined by the level of social and economic advancement. Industrial relation policies are also influenced by the stages of development of an economy's industrialization strategies. In India, the state intervenes in procedural and substantive aspects of union management relations. A variety of factors such as the following led the government to assign for itself a major and more direct role in labor matters: concern for planned development and rapid economic growth, as envisaged in the successive 5-year plans; requirements of a welfare state envisaged in our Constitution, particularly the directive principles of state policy and, more importantly, Articles 43 and 43A; the socio-economic imbalances in the society, the depressed conditions of the working class as observed by the Royal Commission on Labour and the Labour Investigation Committee; the imbalance in and between unions and employers and the weaknesses of both the social partners, leading to preference for adjudication despite avowed recognition and appreciation of the merits of free and fair collective bargaining; the anxiety of the state concerning the adverse impact of industrial disputes and work stoppages, including strikes and lockouts, led the government to prefer adjudication despite lip sympathy to the apparent merits of free and fair collective bargaining. The role of the state as a major employer, with public sector being projected to achieve the commanding heights of the economy as per the industrial policy resolutions. New economic policy of 1991, however, seems to alter this position. The preamble to the Constitution of India provides the framework within which the labor policies of the organization can be formulated in India. They have provided justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote them among all. Fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. Right to equality, right to freedom, and right against exploitation. The ILO is based on the principle of tripartism, dialogue, and cooperation between governments, employers, and workers in the formulation of standards and policies dealing with labor matters. International labor standards are created and supervised through a tripartite structure that makes the ILO unique in the United Nations system. The tripartite approach to adopting standards ensures that they have broad support from all ILO constituents. Tripartism with regard to ILO standards is also important at the national level. Through regular tripartite consultations, government can ensure that ILO standards are formulated, applied, and supervised with the participation of employers and workers. ILO standards on tripartite consultation set forth the framework for effective national tripartite consultations. But the lack of representatives among workers and employers, organizations, and the growing assertion of state governments and the non-participation of administrative ministries in tripartite discussions resulted in the weakening of all the three social partners and raised questions about their representation. Towards the realization of the goals set out in the national economic plans, the Government of India has also created bipartite consultative machinery for ensuring cooperation between workers and employers. Here, we shall briefly consider the experience with Joint Consultative Board (JCB) and National Apex Body (NAB). A Joint Consultative Board (JCB) of Industry and Labour was set up in 1951. It was set up as an official body to consider, advise, and cooperate with government on matters relating to industrial relations in general and specific issues such as retrenchment in particular. Now the turn comes to discuss limits on the power of state. There is a limit to the role and powers of the state governments. They are duty-bound to refer their enactments and amendments to the Centre for the assent of the President of India. The central government may on its own or upon being referred to by the President tender advice to form the basis for the President's decision. The usual practice of the President's office is not to act, rather than to turn down the proposals for changes per se. Also, in the wake of the pressure to link international trade with social clauses and the 1998 ILO Declaration on Fundamental Principles, it might become necessary for maintaining uniformity and consistency in aligning core labor standards, freedom of association, right of collective bargaining, non-discrimination and equal remuneration, child labor and forced labor as envisaged in the relevant conventions. Now let us check if we have understood the various concepts discussed in this lesson clearly. EO is an association which supports the trade union against employers. Right or wrong? Wrong. Three-tier machinery collectively made employers association. Right or wrong? Wrong. CIE stands for Council of Indian Employers. Right or wrong? Right. For being a member of EO, an annual of rupees 100 is paid so that its expenses can be dealt with the fund accumulated. Right or wrong? Wrong. Now let's revise the whole concept. Employers' associations are formed to promote and protect the interest of employers in trade and industry. They are formal groups of employers set up to defend, represent, or advise affiliated employers. Employers also have the need for presentation at different forums. Hence they formed formal groups. Important among them are FICCI, ASSOCHAM, CII, SCOPE, and the labor wings like AOIE, EFI, IOI, etc. These forums are very effective in raising employers' concerns to national and international forums. State and prevention come in the shape of government policies and government practices. Constitution of India is the fountainhead from where all the policies and practices originate. Government of India has evolved tripartite consultation dispensation similar to ILO, where industrial relation policies are discussed and evolved. There has been a paradigm shift in government thinking from protecting labor to protecting business. Some of the provincial governments are way ahead of the central government. Thank you.